one member of every generation of my family has been to U of M since 1876. So my brother couldn't get in. Went to tech. So it's just the two of us. So it had to be me. So I had to go. So I did. I was East Quad. At the time, my girlfriend was a year older than me. Graduated a year before me. Went to U of M. So she's, oh, you need to be in East Quad. Okay, all right. So I signed up for East Quad. And my first roommate was, oh, I forget his name. He was a sophomore, and we didn't get along at all. We didn't get along at all. No how. But I remember my first days there. Yeah, for sure. Quickly, Hayden Hall. Third floor Hayden Hall in East Quad. Quickly made some friends on the hall, and then just had all sorts of adventures. I did. I want one of two things. I wanted to either get a degree in German or telecommunications, because when I lived in North Carolina, I lived in Asheville, North Carolina for a couple of years. When I was end of middle school, beginning of high school, I was in the theater program at University of North Carolina at Asheville, and the director of the program there passed my name on to a local company that did radio commercials, short radio spots, and sometimes they would need a younger voice, and I was young, so they called me up. Hey, you can make the standard fee like $40 for whatever. So they bring you in, you do this radio commercial, and you get $42.50 or something like that. I mean, it was whatever, union fee or whatever. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. I wanted to do that. So it was either German or that, but Eastern had a much better telecommunications program than U of M. It was more robust than U of M did. So I ended up just starting off as a German major.
Mm-hmm. And how did you end up in Russian?
Not being a German major. So I had a class with Professor Ben Stoltz just on a whim. I'd taken a couple years of German, and I had to fill an elective, and I want to say it was Slavic folklore. I think it was the Slavic folklore class. I think that's what sparked it all. But because Ben Stoltz, the smartest man on the face of the planet, was able to, he knew Russian, he knew Serbian, he knew all of the languages, not all of them, but I mean, he knew a lot about the languages that these fairy tales were written in, so he could speak to the linguistics of it, he could speak to the cultural part of it, and I was like, wow. And that was it. And I was like, okay, now I gotta learn Russian, much to my parents' chagrin. There was faculty teacher there, Lyudmila Vergunova. Lyudmila Arkadyevna Vergunova. She was my favorite teacher by far. She was from Moscow, and her husband, second husband, was a Montanan by the name of Nathan Longan. And they both taught there. And then his contract didn't get renewed for some odd reason, so he ended up at Oakland U, and she still taught there. But then he would do the summer. I did the all summer long Russian thing for 8 credits. I did that, but he would come back during the summer and do that. But she was by far my favorite teacher. She was really probably the best teacher as far as taking me under her wing there that I ever had. No, I wasn't involved anywhere near as much as I wish I had been. I would have gotten. For a little bit I was I was on the air at WJJX, which is like the campus radio station. I don't know if they changed the call signs, but I think it was WJJX. It was like the first year they started it, maybe the second year, but nobody listened to it.
Yeah.
Nobody listened to it. We would say, okay, here's our phone. If anybody's out there, please, please, please call us. And I don't know how long I did that at a Friday spot that it was late night on Friday for whatever reason. It was kind of a stupid idea to do it then, but only to find out, and nobody ever called. Nobody ever called. And I'm like, nobody's listening to this. Well, come to find out, the incoming line didn't work. So even if they did call, it wouldn't have rung anywhere. I didn't know it. So I felt pretty stupid about that. And the Naked Mile, too. We ran the Naked Mile every year. What? What? So, okay, the Naked Mile. The last day of class, supposedly when you're, like, going to graduate, the last day of actual class before exams start, you get naked on Southview beyond Huron. Block or two way back there, and there's kind of a rallying point back there, right? And there are a whole bunch of people that run it, and you all get naked, and then you run down Southview, across the diag, and then over to the Cube, and then all kind of wraps up at the Cube. And the police are sympathetic as long as you're like, hey, if you're running it, because it's lined with people, so if you're running it, you're fine. If you put your clothes on as soon as you get to the Cube, then you're pretty much safe. But if you're loitering around naked, you'll get arrested. 1 year, so you're supposed to do it the year you're graduating, right? I did it every year, just because it sounded like fun. So any chance to run around naked, that's cool. 1 year, a group of us branched off from the rest of the people and hit the law library. So we're on the tables in the law library, naked as sin. And then we joined with the rest of the group. So check it out. So next year, when classes end, and there are plenty of ladies that run it, I saw a guy get his ass whooped for touching one of the naked runners. Yeah, a little bit inappropriately. You never saw more naked guys jump on a clothed man and beat him down in your life. Everybody's respectful, everybody's respectful, except for that one. Oh, not a favorite one. Just the whole experience. I mean, the good and the bad of it. Even now my wife teases me because I was telling her we're thinking about moving. So the subject of moving to Ann Arbor came up. And she was telling us, oh, Dave would love to go back to Ann Arbor. Oh, the magical kingdom of Ann Arbor. And shut up. So you can tell that even now, the years that I spent there, and a lot of them were terribly painful, terribly disappointing, terribly embarrassing. But even now they hold that kind of, nostalgia that I think a lot of U of M, a lot of people from Ann Arbor have. But I mean, I guess it's anybody, whatever your alma mater is. I guess it's just a universal thing. I think it has a lot to do with the Midwestern underpinnings upon which the culture of U of M within Ann Arbor is based. I think it has a lot to do with the Midwestern values that seep into and are part of the fabric. I mean, liberal as any research college could be anywhere, but still I think there's a lot to be said for the Midwest. I don't know, because it's like going home. You always have that feeling like you're going home. Not like home, but it's a home. And it's very comfortable. It's like an old pair of slippers that you put on that, you should really throw those away. They stink. Yeah, but they're so comfortable. It's kind of like that. And I don't know where that feeling might come from. Other than, Ann Arbor is a very welcoming town to begin with. And down towards Main Street, it gets, But I don't know. I think it's a Midwestern.
What are the
I graduated in '98, and I mean, I decided to study Russian. I don't know, like '95 maybe. Let's see, 93, 93, 94, probably '94. Um, so then, the university said you should. At a couple points, they said you should take some time off and come back to us, later, but not like this semester maybe. So okay, fine. So that's why it took me 6 years to graduate. So um, when I graduated, the um, the Berlin Wall had come down, the communist regime had fallen. They were putting a lot of capitalist uh, programs forth in the former Soviet Union. And I thought with a Russian degree, oh, I will follow that wave of investment, which was sure to follow from the American capitalist, and somehow get a job doing that. Well, that didn't pan out so well for me. So, um, got a job at a software firm writing software for credit unions, keep track of their customers. Actually, so about a year after that, I moved up to Midland. You ever heard of Midland? Yeah, don't ever go there. Second bit of advice. Okay, two piece of advice. Don't ever go to Midland. So I spent, I don't know, maybe 10 months there, and then I was like, no, I actually, other people decided for me, you need to not be here. Then I got a job at Ford Motor Credit Company. Oh, and that's how I ended up here.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Um, I mean, look at the things that they're putting light bulbs in the street lights. How many millions? Like it was 1 point something million that they needed to get, and they're slowly whittling that down. A lot of the programs that have been put in place, um, in the past couple of years. Oh yeah, I'm very hopeful for Detroit. You look at its history and the fact that Detroit doesn't give up. Probably the single best piece of advice is advice that my dad gave to me before I left for school. He was a Nam, and he'd tell funny stories every once in a while, but he saw a lot of stuff in Nam. And through it all, and here's his bit of advice because of what he'd seen there, good and bad. Um, that led him to want to tell me a lot of that experience. The advice that he gave me was, I want you to experience as much of life as possible under controlled circumstances. So, and he went on to say, so people are smoking cigarettes with funny rolled ends on them. Okay, that's fine, but just understand that if you partake and the cops show up, oh, there are consequences. So this is where the under controlled circumstances comes in. And that was just an example that he gave me because he knew, a lot of that might happen there. I don't know why he thought that. But and going back to the whole Nam thing, because the things that he saw there, he said, oh yeah, probably some of that's going to be going on. So that was just the example that he gave me. But that same advice, I mean, we can laugh about, ha ha ha, that's funny. But that same advice holds very true I think, for a lot of things in life. Experience as much of life as possible under controlled circumstances. So, oh, I'd really like to try that. But gosh, is there a way that I could wrangle it in so that, it's not life-threatening to me or other people? Yeah, there probably is. So, yeah, that would be the single biggest piece of advice I could give to anybody.